Hello, welcome. I haven't done a video on a derailleur in quite some time, so I figured I'd do something a little bit more special. This is a Shimano 600 short cage derailleur, model 6200. You'll notice it has the Arabesque engravings on the top plate here. The derailleur was sold between 1978 up until 84, 85, judging by the catalogues. What made it obviously stand out was the arabesque decorations that were engraved on here on the top plate and on the outer cage plate there. And so arabesque is a form of artistic decoration, and I'm quoting this from Wikipedia. It's mostly used in the Islamic world, and it's based on a rhythmic linear patterns of scrolling and interlacing foliage, tendrils, or plain lines. And the reasoning behind the arabesque decoration were aesthetic. Many road bikes had those beautiful artistic lugs, and it was believed that this group would complement those beautiful steel frames. Another feature on this derailleur was this kind of hatch mechanism that they had. Unfortunately, I don't have it on mine. It seems to have broke. But essentially, it's like you'll see on kind of modern derailleurs, you had a little spring part here that you push down. In fact, you see there it's still written push. And what that allows you to do is move this part out of the way. And you could essentially remove this derailleur without having to undo the chain. So there's not much to do on this derailleur. I'm going to undo it. It looks like this part here is slightly bent, so I'm going to put that back into place, and we'll give it a general cleaning. Let's begin by removing the cage. I'm not sure if this part here is removable. I'm going to have to take off this nut, and we'll see. Maybe you can actually unscrew it, and that way we can release the tension on the cage. So since I don't have that spring hatch function, I'm going to undo this. They look like they put a flat-headed screw there. And so now this should move. Not super well though. Let's see if that undoes. I need to get something a bit grippier. After turning this a little bit, it doesn't seem to come off, so it must be riveted, which means we're going to proceed on to removing this bolt right here, which is a number 6. And that's now come off. So we were in that hole there on the right, the other tip of that spring. And we can now remove that. It's quite rusty. So we can take this off now. Inside there looks like there's a spacer bushing. Don't know if that unscrews. Yeah. Wasn't screwed on. Should be able to pull this off now. Mine was quite stuck, the bolt. Still stuck. I have to get a plier to pull it out. Let's see if we can get it now. No. Very, very stiff. You might want to put something, if you're using a plier, to avoid scratching it. Nuts. I ended up spraying a bit of penetrant oil to loosen it out. Ah, finally got it. And so here there's a plastic seal. Now let's work on the top one. So there's a E-clip there at the back. Let's remove that. That comes out nice and easy. And now we've got to remove this part. So longer tip goes downwards for that spring. And nothing else seems to come off. At least not for the moment. And I'm going to remove that seal. We'll do a full dismantling here, so we'll take off the limit screws. That's the barrel adjuster. I'm actually going to leave that part because that's quite fiddly to put back in after. And I think I'll take this off as well. So that was the ankle bolt, this is the barrel adjuster. Finally, the jockey wheels. I believe this is original. And it's a number 9. Yeah, number 9 nut to remove. So we're going to chuck all of this into solution to clean it and degrease it, and we will reassemble. Right, well that's all globally cleaned. I think now what I'm going to do is dry it up for one, and what we're going to do is polish up this cage, which is kind of tainted from slight corrosion, and that should be everything. So now I'm putting some metal renovator polish, see if we can make this look nicer. So after a bit of polishing, I guess it's a little bit shinier than before. I think you'd need a Dremel to really get it shinier. Also to just point out, there's another part here that eventually came off once I'd been cleaning, and it's kind of like the seal, which I'm about to put back on now, but just to point out. I've also bent back into shape the stopper part for the top knuckle. You need to be careful when you're bending these, they do snap, and sometimes they're very specific to the radar. But there it looks like it's pretty good, and it's catching on much better than before. So now we're going to add on some grease. I'm going to smudge us a thin layer on all the parts that have friction, and I advise you to do the same. Motorex grease is what I use, but you can use any lithium-based grease on these parts. Let's begin by putting our pulleys back on, so they don't seem to indicate an upper or a lower, and they also seem to be symmetrical on both sides. I've put a very thin layer on these as well since they're quite old, so we're going to put the little parts back on. Got a little barrel there. And so we're going to start on this part there towards here. So you need this bolt with a JIS head. Oh, that's much smoother. You can of course put some Loctite on the other end on the threading if you feel like you need to. I'm going to make that nice and tight. Great. And now for the other one. And on this end you have a bolt that's quite specific in shape. One end of, let's say, the little part of the inner cage, lower part anyway, this screw here is going to kind of integrate into it, so it lays flat. So I put that the wrong way around. Other way. So it needs to insert there. Then we grab our nut and we'll screw that down. Oh yeah, that's really, really nice and smooth. Unfortunately, I just dropped the anchor bolt, or the one on the other side, so now I'm going to have to put that back on. So here's a little plastic covering for our limit screws. And don't put that limit screw all the way down, because if you need to re-put that anchor bolt back in, because it's in the way. So I'm using this screwdriver, I'm going to stick it through, and then I can use my thumb to kind of open it up. You'll need a nose plier to kind of make it easy to put that bolt back on. You know what, that screw's still in the way. Just going to screw that back on to keep in place. Right, let's work on the lower knuckle. So grab this barrel shape. There's a hole at the back, and we're going to put the short tip of the larger spring inside that. And this barrel has a kind of square, flat shape, and that's going towards where the cage plates are for the body of the derailleur anyway. And on the other side you have this plastic seal. We're going to run the bolt through there, and let's see if it just pushes through now that we've added some grease, or maybe not. Yeah, it kind of looks like it's working. Maybe you need to give it a little push. Or maybe not. Might have to get a hammer. Yeah, I'm going to have to get a hammer. On the other end there's this bushing spacer that we need to insert back on. Okay, now we need to put the jockey wheel cage back on as well. It's a little bit hard because we can't remove this part, so we need to kind of figure out how to tension it up. I don't think there's going to be a magical way of this. Yeah. So there's two holes, the left and right. I think the left is more tensioned, or maybe the right. I think it's the right. I'll put it in the left. And I think what you want to do is just catch on the threading a little bit onto the jockey or cage. So I'm going to try and do that now. I think you want to just start threading it in a little bit. So it's holding but not too much. So, got it. My God, this is not enjoyable. Okay. Yeah, finally got it on. So only a little bit really threaded on, and now when I turn it, it's going to thread it a little bit more if you hold this bolt in place, I guess. And so let's give it a try. I use the Allen key, make it easier. Right, so it's tensioning up that spring, and hopefully it's not. I had to force it in through a little bit there, but it's got through. And now, normally you can just screw that on. Nice and tight. Let's try it. Yeah, and now it's good. So now we're going to put that covering back on, and there's a gap there where the hole for the spring is going to go through. Like that. And so on this end we have this seal. I think you need to put probably the spring first, so the one part there that's sticking out. Put that on the latch. Then we have the seal to put on. And yeah, the seal has also a little ridge there sticking out, so that needs to slot in like so. And then we have our bolt that we're going to put there. And the other tip of that spring, there's a hole right there, so we need to insert that into that part. Now this might be difficult to tension as well. So I've put it in just a little bit, the tip of that spring, because we need enough space there for that stopper to go over, and then we push down. Let's attempt this with the plier now. Hopefully this works the first time. Let's try it. I have a feeling no. So what I'm doing now is I'm just pushing the bolt ever so slightly. Might have to put this in a vise. I think I'm going to do that. Makes you wonder why they put an E-clip at the back of this, because it's so hard to take off and on. Okay, so once I use the vise, it's not actually the bolt that's so hard to get in. It's this part that's pressing into the top knuckle. So I've pressed in a little bit now, and hopefully that stopper is going to just get over this part here. I'm going to find out. I'm going to use a plier to grab onto there. Ah, no, it's a little bit too much. Hold on. See if we can. Yeah, we got it. So now that I've turned it, I'm going to put it back in the vise, and I'm going to push down. You know, I think I'm going to use one of these to hold it in place. Oh, you need a third hand practically to get this done. You need to really be careful that doesn't break either. There you go. It's all in. So now we've got to put our E-clip. And finally, I've got to put my little replacement hanger, whatever it was called, device. Right, well that's done. Not the easiest derailleurs in the end to work on, even though it's fairly simplistic. I'm glad they changed, upgraded all these parts on later Shimano derailleurs. So thank you for listening, and I hope this helped you service somewhat your 6200 Arabesque Rear Derailleur. And until next time, peace out.